This is just Bob Bowman, and I'm coming with another video. And before I get started, I just want to point out something. Let me stand up right quick. I have on my fringes today, and I know that it's a lot of zealots out there that say, hey, you need to have on fringes every single day. And if you don't do that, you're going to burn in hell and all this and all that. Like, I wear fringes every once in a while. I know the truth. I've read the word. But I'm not going to wear fringes every day because it's not reasonable. We living in a society where you don't want to you know do stuff to aggravate and provoke people too much. Like how they say, when in Rome, do what the Romans do. You know, like yeah, I can wear my traditional fringes every once in a while, but I'm not gonna go out to places, parties, things of that nature wearing them. It's not gonna happen. I know that there's some people that like to wear their garbs or wear whatever it is that's sacred and important to them everywhere they go, and that's great for them. But I'm a different type of person. And I just wanted to share that. I know I didn't have to share that because it has nothing to do with this topic that I'm speaking on today, but I just wanted to kind of express myself a little bit before I got started. Um, so, this topic today is, if you find yourself in bad relationships, it's your fault. And what I mean by that is that you can't control how others treat you. You can't control how they think about you, their perceptions of you, um, you know, how they talk to you, their actions towards you. Like, it's nothing that you can do about those things. However, if you find yourself in a situation where you have the option of whether or not you're going to hang around certain people, and you always hanging around individuals that put you down, that gaslight you, that treat you like you're less than, that always want to point out every single one of your flaws while trying to build themselves up, um, yeah, it's on you. You're allowing yourself to be treated that way. You're allowing yourself to be low valued in that way. And it may be some actions that you're doing outside of hanging with them people that's causing you to be a low value person. But you have to evaluate yourself honestly. Like, there were times when I was in relationships with people, and it was one where the woman was pretty, like she was beautiful. She was taller than me. She was slim how I like it. You know, she had a daughter, um, but I ignored a lot of red flags. Like, for one, the dad, he was in jail for some things that I'm not going to talk about, and he's going to be released probably about 3 or 4 years from now. And she had a lot of anger and bitterness about that. Um, she treated her daughter really bad. Like, her house was terrible when I met her. Like, it was just stuff everywhere and junky, and all she wanted to do was lay around and drink and smoke. And I found myself falling under that same pattern. I had my own place, but I was allowing her to come over, and then my place started getting junky. And I used to keep my place like really, really clean, like immaculate clean. My friends can tell you that. And the reason why I'm like that is because I used to be in the military, and also growing up, there were some things that were happening that was out of my control, that I'm like, I'm gonna make sure that when I have my own place, I'm not gonna let it be like that. So anyway, like, and she used to talk to me terrible, and she used to try to control me with using her vagina. And I allowed that to happen to myself. And the reason why I allowed that to happen to myself is because I felt as though I couldn't get someone as pretty as her again in my life. You know what I'm saying? Even though I've been with women that were even better looking than her, but at that point in my life, I was so beaten down that I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try to help her out with her issues, and I had my own personal issues going on at the time, and I was trying to heal her while healing myself, and then I also had a lot of other entities that were attached to me that were draining me, and the situation didn't turn out good. Like I had to drop her like a bad habit, and I didn't want to, but she was so toxic that if I would have stayed with her, like the relationship would have turned really terrible really quick. And I know that she wasn't being respectful of me. Like she was talking to other dudes. She was probably going to get back with her baby's father once he got out of jail and try to have both of us in a a polygamy type of situation. And I wasn't down with that at all. But a lot of women out here had that mindset that they can do those things because, like, oh, and the reason being is because we allow ourselves to be treated like that. Sometimes we got to allow people to go in our lives, even though we probably want to be with them because of how they appear on the outside and how good the sex is, and they probably do good things for you every once in a while and act like a really nice person one day, but then it's like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type of deal that's going on. And like, you can't allow yourself to go through that, you know and I had to learn that the hard way. And one thing that I had to learn is that even though physical appearance is important in order to be sexually attracted to a woman, it's not the most important thing. It's one of the important things, but it's not the most important things. Like, if she truly loves and appreciates you, if she respects you as a man, if she listens to you, she don't have to do everything that you say or agree with everything, but if she's willing to sit down and listen to you and y'all able to talk out, able to have a clear communication about the directions that you two want to go, and seeing if you can come to a compromise. If you can't come to a compromise, then y'all need to go y'all separate ways. But you also need to understand, like, the severity of the situation. Is it severe enough to where you would need to go your separate ways if you don't agree with things? So it's a lot to, like, keep in mind, you know what I'm saying? And one thing that I had to understand is that I have a lot more control in the type of relationships that I allow in my life than I was, like, actually, putting forth action in. Like, I felt, growing up, I was always that child that was, like, ostracized and didn't have a lot of friends. Like, it was times where I did have friends, and there was times where I didn't have any friends. And like during those times of isolation, you have people outside like, man, I don't ever see him with anybody. Like, why don't he ever have any friends? And you could become a target because of that, especially if you're growing up in an urban area. Like, I grew up on the south side of Chicago, um, South Shore area, which is a very dangerous area now. Like, it was bad back when I was growing up, but now it's even worse. But with that being said, you know, like, I had a lot of abandonment issues, isolation issues. I grew up in a single parent household, and my mother wasn't, and my mother did the best that she could. So let me say that before I say what I'm going to say. Like, my mother, she didn't really teach me what I needed to learn growing up about certain situations, about certain circumstances. Like, she just was like, well, you just going to have to deal with it. And I'm trying to raise you to be this type of person or that type of person. And, she really didn't care, like, how I felt, because she was going through her own struggles at the time. And as an adult, I understand that, but at the same time, I got to heal myself from the mindset that I developed due to outside circumstances that was out of my control. So with that being said, like I found myself always being in these toxic relationships. Or if I wasn't in these toxic relationships, I was attracting women that I definitely did not want to be with, that I did not find sexually attractive. I didn't find sexually appealing. And this wasn't, and I'm not trying to bash women when I say that, but I'm being honest. Like if women want to be honest about how they think about certain men, and they have the freedom to say that, we should be able to have the freedom to say that as well. So with that being said, like I found myself either being with these good looking extra toxic women, or being chased down by these women that I had no interest in being in. And I had to ask myself, why is this? And the common denominator is myself. Now, that's a hard pill to swallow when you realize that it's you. You're the issue and why this is happening to you. And I understand how toxic the community is as a whole. Now, if you work on yourself and you start improving yourself and you stop allowing certain situations and certain people to be in your life, and you see that everybody on the outside isn't changing around you, then it's time for you to move around. Like that's why I'm a advocate for getting the passport. And you don't need to just get a passport to move around. I'm saying like go to different places, you know what I'm saying? Like go to different states, go to different cities, try to meet new people at other places. You know what I'm saying? If you don't like the options that you have where you're at, seeing where it is that you could possibly, intermingle with others, and you could possibly build a new life if you wanted to move away from where you're currently at, or if a person that you like out there is willing to move where you're at. You see what I'm saying? Like you have to be able to, like look at things realistically and take everything into perspective, what it is that you're looking for in the future, what it is that you want in the future. And then you have to understand that you have to find a person that's willing to go along with your program. Either you move where they at or they move where you're at, and y'all establish something from that. So it don't have to be just passports, even though I highly recommend getting a passport and traveling, getting to know yourself, getting cultured, you know, and there's nothing wrong with, like intermingling with the beautiful women in these different countries, even though you have a lot of people that try to shame men for doing that. I mean, and I understand why, because these women who have been treating us so badly, they still look at us as, the stepdaddies to get stepped on and get mistreated and take all the abuse that they can't put on the actual fathers. Or they looking at you as a possible retirement plan, or they looking at you as a status symbol. Since they have so low self-esteem and they have their own issues that they need to work out on at, and they see you and they say, well, like he's probably not what it is that I want, but I don't want to be around here saying I ain't got no man. And that's how a lot of women are. They trying to look for the best deal possible so they don't get clowned by their girls. And of course they have a hive mentality. And if a woman who has low value in herself, she wants you, and she knows that you're not going to give her the time of day, she's going to look for every strategy that she can to make you submit, whether that is getting the whole community against you or getting rumors spread about you or whatever, just so she can have her way. And then if she doesn't get her way, you know, it's just like, okay, she tried and she failed, but she has to look for another solution for herself, or she has to work on herself to get to that point to where the man that she wants actually would like to be with her. And we understand that a lot of women don't want to do that work. And that work is hard because we as men, we are expected to do that work. I'm doing that work right now. And even though I'm doing the work, it's still not good enough. You know what I'm saying? And I had to come to realization that I have to do this for me, not for anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to treat myself good, even if everybody around me ain't treating me good. And then every once in a while, when I need to get away from all the outside stresses and pressures of life that I'm dealing with currently, I can hop on a plane, go to a beautiful island, meet some beautiful people, and have a beautiful time. And there's nothing wrong with that because a lot of people do that. And I understand that the Passport Bros, we are a very small collective group, especially in the Black community. We're very small, but at the same time, we're getting our message out there to people to where they can be more comfortable with doing certain things like that, and they don't have to be shamed or looked down upon or be called, all these negative stereotypes that everybody want to place on them because they want to live a normal life. Like, you don't have to settle for being beaten down. You don't have to settle for somebody who you're not physically attracted to. You don't have to settle for anybody with children that ain't going to respect you, and just be and let's just be honest. Like, a lot of women out here, they're going to put their children first, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's their children. And you as a man, you're going to be expected to put her above you, and since she's putting her children above her, like, they're going to run roughshod over you. And that's how it is in most cases. I'm not saying that's how it is in all cases, but we have to be logical and we have to be realistic about the situations of what we allow ourselves to be in. And if it's a lot of dysfunction going on in that household before you get there, you need to like run for the hills because you're not going to be able to change that situation at all. You're only there to be you're only there to be a banana for her. You're only there to be a wallet for her, and you're only there to be the punching bag for her and her children eventually. And that's how you will be treated as such. I know I said a whole mouthful, and I know that it's hard out here dating, but you have to allow yourself to be true to who you are, and you have to be honest about your reality and your circumstances. And not everybody is the same. You have some men out here that are very successful, and it could be looks, money, status, or whatever. They just have what they call it, or that swag, or whatever. And you can't compete with these men because you're not like them. You have to find your own lane to be successful. To be successful. You have to find your own lane. You can't be like them. Don't try to be like them. Be like yourself. And sometimes you can't even hang around these people because if they put their value on how many women they get, they're going to be looking at you as saying, like, why ain't you doing this and why ain't you doing that? And like, you should be just dealing with whoever and whatever that's available and whoever we think is good for you. And then if you refuse to do that, it's going to be a lot of conflict if you hanging around those people. So you have to ask yourself, why are you around those people if they're going to treat you as such? And if you're trying to gain some clout and gain some acceptance, it's not going to happen if you don't do what it is that you're expected to do by these people. And that's just being honest. And you have to treat these women accordingly. Like, I'm not saying be disrespectful, because I'm very cordial with women even after they reject me at this point, because I'm 41 years old and I'm not going to waste my time trying to convince somebody to be with me or to treat me with respect and they don't want to do such things. And when I was younger, I used to try to, like, hey, and try to convince people, but it's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. It could be a waste of money. It could be a waste of attention because while you're paying this woman attention that really don't respect you or really like you, you have a whole bunch of women over here that will possibly give you a time of day. But you won't know that if you only have your eyes focused on this. And that's how a lot of these women want us. They want us to have our eyes focused on this so they can take advantage of us. And I'm saying don't allow yourself to be taken advantage of like that. As a matter of fact, it was a woman that I had took out on a date back in July. And, like she acted like she liked me. She was acting like she was going, like hang out with me some more, and we was going, kick it and do and just get to know each other better. And I was down for that. But the day after the date, I received a text that says, "Oh, I didn't feel a spark." And so I had to accept it. I was upset because I'm like, "Damn, why does she act like she liked me?" And then she waited until the following day to just say, "Oh, I'm not interested." Like, I didn't understand it. Maybe she didn't feel comfortable with telling me that, or she didn't, you know, I like maybe she had bad experiences with other men, but I had to get to that point to where I had to stop being upset and accept it, accept how she treated me, move forward. But last night I ran into her at a bar, and like she came up to me. At first, I was gonna leave when I first noticed that she was there. I was like, man, I don't even want to be around this energy. But something in me was like, no, do not leave. Stay right here. And I stayed right there. And eventually, she came over to me to talk to me, and I acted like I didn't know her. And was it, and I was still cordial with her, of course, and I knew who she was. Like I knew her first and last name. I really liked her when we were like around each other for that brief period, and I was hoping that things could, escalate, but it didn't. But at the same time, I'm like, she pretended with me. Let me pretend with her a little bit so she can feel how I felt. And I realize that's how a lot of women out here are like, like if they feel ignored by a man that they really want, even if he is paying her some attention and trying to just be friends with her, but he's not willing to go to that extra step with her, like how she wants and demands, then she will try to make him seem like a monster for doing such. And she will try to get everybody, all the other women, to ignore him as well. That's the hive mentality to build a scarcity mindset in his mind to where he won't think about pursuing anybody else. And we as men, we don't have to tolerate that. Like if we're doing what we're supposed to do and we're improving our lives the way that we're supposed to, and they don't want to be receptive of it, they have no right to tell us that we can't look elsewhere. And if you choose not to look elsewhere, if you choose to still deal with the horrible treatments that you're dealing with, not only by the women in the community, but by the community as a whole, the men in the community, everybody, then it's your fault. You know, like the community is always going to expect you to sacrifice for it. Just like how we saw what happened with Deion Sanders in Jackson State, and they expected him to sacrifice himself for that college and get mistreated and abused. And once he found a better opportunity, he got crapped on. And that's what happens to a lot of us when we decide to do what's best for us. And we have to live our lives to where we're looking out for our best interests, regardless of how anybody else feel about it, and regardless of the risk that comes with it, because it's always going to be a risk. You might be successful out here when you're traveling, you might not. And like I said, while I've been traveling and I went to a different country, like my success rate, excuse me, my success rate increased drastically. And that's not saying that I wasn't rejected at all, because there was a couple of women that I tried to talk to and it didn't work out. But it didn't matter because I was still getting play. You know what I'm saying? So, and I don't want to get into too many details about that, but you get what I'm saying. And all I'm saying is that we don't have to tolerate this negative treatment that we've been getting. We don't. Like, we are in control of who we allow in our lives and who we allow to leave our lives. And it's okay to let people go. It's okay to let the community go if they don't respect you and respect anything that you do. But this is just Bob Bowman, and I just wanted to give that piece to you, something for you to think about. Please like, share, and subscribe this to my channel. If you like this message, if you even if you don't, you know, I really care about you guys. I want to see y'all get better, just like I'm improving my life. And I'm not saying that I'm exactly where I want to be at, because I'm definitely not, but I am making some improvements. And with those improvements, I'm able to have a clearer mind and a clearer vision of where it is that I want to go. And I wanted to share this with you to give you some encouragement to say, hey, you don't have to tolerate all this negativity. You don't have to participate in the gender war. You could just do what it is that you need to do and become the best version of yourself so you can live the best life that you can for you. With that being said, this is just Bob Bowman, and I'm out.